Now, from Indiana's most watched news station.
Masked robbers jump across the counter at a Cumberland restaurant and force a high school senior to the ground.
I was just hoping I wasn't gonna die. I was just hoping I wasn't gonna get shot.
Tonight, the new warning police have for these thieves.
House 27 is the busiest Indianapolis firehouse in the city.
You can go from planning your meal or cleaning the bathrooms to being on a house fire within about 4 minutes.
Tonight, Fox 59 goes behind the badge to show you a day in the life of an Indianapolis firefighter.
Very cold night and a foggy one too. Freezing fog is in the forecast. I'll let you know when this weather will finally brighten up and when the temperatures will warm up coming up.
And there's a special purpose behind this Christmas tree in Boone County. How it's honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Now on Fox 59 News at 10. And we start tonight with breaking news. A Dollar General customer shot and killed in Cumberland tonight. Authorities say it all happened during an armed robbery. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Dan Spieler.
And I'm Tanae Howard. This shooting happened at the Dollar General on East Washington Street. And now, as you can see, this is right down the street from where a Pizza King was also robbed on Friday.
Yeah, right next door. Fox 59's Lindsay Eaton is live in Cumberland tonight. Lindsay, what are you hearing from the police at this hour?
Yes, we just got on scene here, and this is the closest police are letting us to the scene. I'm going to step out of the way and just give you a look here. Still a very developing scene out here. This is what we know so far. Around 7:45 tonight, police were called to this Dollar General in Cumberland for an attempted robbery. Officials have confirmed just about 10 minutes ago a customer was shot and killed during this attempted robbery. We are still waiting on word from police of any arrests and how many suspects were involved. Now, this scene is off of East Washington Street here in Cumberland, and I was just out here earlier tonight covering an armed robbery that happened at the Pizza King on Friday night. And just to give you an idea, if you look over my shoulder, this Dollar General is right next door to this Pizza King. Now, in that armed robbery, the victim in that armed robbery was a teenage girl, and those suspects were caught on camera.
I really just wanted to run away. I was just hoping I wasn't gonna die.
Armed robbers caught on camera, one after another after another. The three thieves jumped right over the front counter with guns drawn.
They had their finger on the trigger. They were ready to go. If I was not gonna follow their instructions, they were ready to shoot.
17-year-old Grace was one of the two employees inside the Cumberland Pizza King Friday night. This robbery happened 15 minutes before closing time. Grace says she was forced to the ground, and the thieves made it clear they wanted cash.
He came over to me and he pointed the gun at me and had his hand on my back and the gun to my back.
The video shows the other employee opening the cash register for the robbers, and they clean it out. They were wearing gloves and hid their faces. They even go to the kitchen and the office looking for more money.
I didn't even get the tips for that night because they took them.
This robbery wasn't a quick hit. They were inside the restaurant for nearly 3 minutes. Police are certain these thieves have done this before.
They were definitely comfortable in doing this, and they've unfortunately probably succeeded a lot more than they have failed.
So far this year, there have been 26 business robberies reported in Cumberland. That's more than double the amount last year. Investigators know these three are tied to a bigger ring, possibly connected to several other thefts, including the robberies that happened at this Speedway gas station last month. It was hit twice within 9 days.
We're onto them. We do know who they are. It's just a matter of time before they're picked up.
Police want these criminals off the streets, and this teenager wants them to realize they're putting innocent people in danger.
We're human beings too, and we don't deserve this.
Here's another live look at the scene here. Again, this is at the Dollar General off East Washington Street. Again, officials have confirmed a customer was shot and killed during an attempted robbery. We are still waiting on an update from IMPD. As soon as we get that information, of course, we're going to bring it to you. For now, we're live in Cumberland. Lindsay Eaton, back to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. So in response to these robberies, Cumberland PD not only has stepped up patrols, they've also switched the times of the shift changes and added some extra officers to certain shifts.
They're trying to make sure their patrols are not routine, just in case these robbers are watching. We'll get you back to Cumberland as more breaking news develops tonight. Right now, let's turn to our forecast with some thick fog in some places tonight here in central Indiana.
See a couple of those images here. You're taking a look at our live camera overlooking downtown Indianapolis. Let's get straight over to your Weather Authority Chief Meteorologist Brian Wilkes to let us know if this is just going to be beautiful or impacting our drives.
It will definitely tomorrow morning today, but we'll start to clear things out. Many of you stayed underneath this heavy cloud cover, low-level fog and dreary conditions. Some of us saw the sun return. We take you up to Hamilton County. This is from Fisher's Alderman Luxury Imports, looking off to the south. That's 37, and look at the flag on the left-hand side of the screen there. It's limp. No wind, lots of frost on the car windshields there, and plenty of fog beginning to thicken up. We'll take you over to Grand Park. You can see pretty foggy there as well. Visibility here on the northwest side has been down all day long. We never saw the sunshine here up at the studios of Fox 59, but it did brighten up for a time downtown. Visibility down to 3/4 of a mile at Zionsville, 1.5 miles in Crawfordsville, and down to 0 at Batesville. That's probably under a 1/4 mile. So we have pockets of pretty dense fog out there with very cold temperatures. Crawfordsville at 13 degrees. The visibility will be a problem throughout the night in nearby eastern Illinois and northwest Indiana. Dense fog advisories have been issued. Fog will be thick, and it'll be some freezing fog as well. Awfully frosty too with this cold air. We've had 7 consecutive days below normal, and is there a pattern change looming? A warm-up is in the works. The trade-off will be some rain chances. I'll have the timing coming up.
All right, thanks, Brian. A tragedy in Castleton as a man dies trying to rescue his dog from an icy pond. And tonight, firefighters have a warning to prevent something like this from happening again, as you see some of these pictures here.
Yeah, so it may be instinct for someone to run in after their pets. They are members of your family for a lot of people, but IFD says that's a situation you have to let them handle.
Fox 59's Haley Bull is downtown tonight at IFD headquarters with that important message from firefighters. Haley.
Firefighters here say 2 men tried to rescue him, but to no avail. Tonight, they're asking you to stay off the ice.
A dog fell in the water, and now a man trying to rescue the dog has fell in the water. He's going under the ice.
That's a 911 call of an attempted rescue turned tragedy.
I see the dog in the water and the guy on the ice.
Indianapolis firefighters say a man in his 20s at the Masters Apartments tried to save his dog when it went onto the ice and fell through. 2 neighbors saw it unfold and tried to help.
So I throw it in park, and I just run out there. He falls in when I'm maybe halfway between the road and the lake. I run out, I kind of just slide under the ice. I try and pull myself as much as I can. I get out a certain ways and it starts to break.
So the only thing that I thought about, just jumping inside and try to help, but the ice was so thin. Once I walked in, I went inside, so I tried to go through the ice. So there's other workers, they brought like a rope. It was short. I threw it.
Divers ended up pulling the victim from the water. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. His dog lived.
We haven't had a long enough freeze and a cold enough freeze right now to make the ice to where it's thick enough to walk on. This is not a winter wonderland here. We get really cold and then really warm rather quickly. So our ice really a lot of the times is never really safe.
So firefighters say stay off of it. And if you see a dog or person that's fallen through,
call 911 so we can get out there as quickly as possible, and then use some of those rescue tips, such as a ladder, extension cord, a rope, things like that you could reach out to the person with, so you stay off the ice, but you possibly could give them something to hold on to or help pull them out with.
These men tried to do that, but it didn't work out this time.
I tried. It was so cold.
Firefighters say they usually see a few people who fall through the ice every year, but believe this is the first incident this season. Reporting downtown tonight, Haley Bull, Fox 59 News.
Haley, thank you. A fire at a near East Side homeless shelter forces at least 90 people to temporarily evacuate. It happened at Good News Ministries on Washington Street, and the good news tonight is that people can still stay here.
The biggest thing is it sounds like we should be okay to be able to house any of the guys that are here tonight. Most of the sleeping quarters have been okay.
Thankfully, IFD says no one was hurt. The fire caused $70,000 in damage. Most of that is water damage. Still no word on the cause of the fire.
I just need to know what happened, who's responsible, and like I said, bring them to justice.
A father is desperate for answers tonight on who ended his son's life and why. Dale Howard Jr. is one of 4 men killed in Indianapolis in just the last 2 days. None of them are connected, but all of the families want justice. The latest of these killings happened this morning in an alley on Walnut Street. That killing brings the murder total to 151. That's the exact same number the city saw on this date last year. Investigators need your help in each of these 4 cases.
A death is still a death. A murder is still a murder, and it's something that will not be tolerated.
No arrests have been made. If you know anything that could help solve these cases, please give Crime Stoppers a call.
New developments tonight on the death of a man in Kokomo. Police need your help figuring out why Keith Jewell was killed over the weekend. They want anyone with home surveillance cameras in this area of 400 West Monroe and 1000 North Lindsay to check their cameras from 3 to 5 a.m. yesterday. That shooting happened just a block away from a location where another man was shot. Police found the car that was stolen from the victim in this case, but they didn't find anyone inside. Police have not said if these 2 shootings are connected. Well, a shooting at a North Side Walmart sends a teenager to the hospital. Now police need your help figuring out what happened here. They want you to take a good look at some pictures. We're going to show you right here. You see these surveillance photos. Police say the men you see here, 3 different men, are wanted for questioning in that shooting. A teenager was shot at the Walmart on 86th Street, November 14th. You can see this man is wearing a zip-up jacket and a ball cap. Another has a red and black stocking cap. And this one was wearing all dark clothing. If you know anything about this case or the people you see in these pictures, call Crime Stoppers at 262-TIPS.
Indianapolis firefighters put their lives on the line every day. Tonight, Fox 59 takes you behind the badge to see a day in the life of these heroes.
And a Hoosier makes an anonymous donation that will help children here in our community. Tonight, why he decided to pay it forward.
This Christmas tree has a special meaning. Each bulb hung for a reason.
That's a life. That's a life that matters.
How it's making sure our fallen heroes are never forgotten.
Well, they are some of Indianapolis's bravest first responders running into burning buildings while others run out. But for the men and women of the Indianapolis Fire Department, everyday life is not how it's often portrayed on TV.
Fox 59's Nick McGill shows us the real everyday life of our community's heroes, spending the day with the busiest firehouse in the city.
On primetime TV. Shows like 911 give viewers a so-called glimpse into the chaotic, if not overly dramatic, life of first responders. It's good TV. But here, on the east side of Indianapolis, the life of first responders is different. Less explosive, but perhaps more meaningful.
And I think it's the first job in my life where my alarm goes off in the morning and I'm like, hop out of bed and you're like, I get to go to work. You know, not many jobs are like that. When your alarm goes off, you're like, oh, I gotta go to work.
It's a work that offers one thing, the predictability of being unpredictable. Each day generally starts the same. A few chores help maintain the firehouse. They clean, they tidy. They check their equipment. It usually doesn't take long until...
Engine 27.
You can go from planning your meal or cleaning the bathrooms to being on a house fire within about 4 minutes.
Last year, House 27 responded to more than 5,000 calls. It's the busiest house in the city. An average day could mean rushing out the door nearly 20 times.
A lot of meals interrupted, a lot of sleep interrupted at night, so we run 24/7.
Not every call requires action. This was a suspected gas leak. House 27 was called in as backup, but quickly called off. But about an hour later, someone else needs their help.
What's wrong?
A man has been found passed out behind a gas station. He says it's due to problems with diabetes, but some of his symptoms don't line up with that explanation. It could be an overdose.
He said his sugar was high. It's hard to tell sometimes. I can tell you any story. I just don't know. out until you confirm it with the check.
House 27 goes out on 2 more calls before it's time for lunch. A busy morning means a big appetite. It's times like these that bonds are made.
I'm good.
Firefighters will spend a third of their lives together. Strong relationships are important.
It's something special, man. It's these guys here, I love them. They're like family.
Minutes later, they're back at it. 3 more calls in less than 2 hours. Around 5 o'clock, House 27 is called to this intersection. A 15-year-old girl has been hit by a car.
You being the age that you are, it's going to be up to your father whether he wants you to go get checked out.
She'll be fine. But for IFD, this is their reality. Most of their calls nowadays are medical related. At House 27, only about 15% of their calls are for actual fires. The job has changed from years before.
We could have a shooting, a stabbing, a heart attack, an overdose. We get it all around here.
One thing remains the same. It takes a special type of person to do this job.
You hear it all the time, people running out while we run in, and it's just something inside of you. I don't know how to explain it.
Control engine 27.
Within the next 2 hours, the alarm rings 2 more times. More medical runs, more people sick or injured.
I don't know if he got hit in the head or what.
It takes a toll, but then again, that's the job they signed up for.
You guys good? Yeah, we're good. All right. You come in here, you get beat up, mentally, physically, whatever it might be, but 2-3 days later, you come back to work again and you're ready to do it again.
By the time the sun goes down, House 27 has been on 13 different calls. So for a few moments, they've earned some downtime. As they sit down and look out to the community they serve, they reflect on a long day, one that's only about halfway done. They'll get 4 more calls before their shift is over.
It showed 13 runs to this place.
The job isn't what they always thought it'd be. It isn't what it's always portrayed to be. But at the end of the day, there's no job quite like it. What they do matters. It matters to who they serve. It matters to them. And if you ask any one of them, they'll tell you the same thing.
Best job ever.
Best job ever, absolutely.
I don't know how I could do anything else.
We thank them for what they do every day. Well, House 27 is still on track to be the busiest firehouse in the city. They'll be nearing last year's mark of 5,000 total runs.
Very cool. All right, welcoming the crew members of the newest USS Indianapolis. For the first time in more than 70 years, both the USS Indiana and Indianapolis are sailing together. It's the 4th USS Indianapolis to be commissioned in history. And tonight, Hoosiers were invited to meet some of the crew representing our capital city at sea. The sailors serving on board know how much the ship means to this city and to our country.
We've received such incredible love and support from the people of Indianapolis and Indiana. Every time we come here, the outpouring's been incredible, and we're just so honored to take your ship back out to sea.
The crew is currently going through training in Florida, including classes, tests, and simulation in order to bring the ship to life. They're hoping to take delivery next summer.
A pregnant Indiana teenager is found murdered. The connection between her and the 16-year-old accused of killing her.
And 2 men escaped after being crushed by a semi-truck.
There is a purpose for your life. You do have a reason to be living, and
tonight, the warning, they say, led them to safety.
It was one of them things I didn't think it'd happen around here.
A tragedy in Mishawaka, Indiana. A 17-year-old pregnant girl found dead, and the person accused of killing her is the father of her child. 16-year-old Aaron Trisho is charged with murder and feticide. According to court documents, he said he'd been planning to kill 17-year-old Brianna Rauschelang and the baby for a week. Trisho is a football player at Mishawaka High School. Rauschelang, a former cheerleader there. The two had known each other ever since grade school.
The thing is that most of us are fathers, and any senseless death is very upsetting, but when you're talking about young people, it is more so.
Trejo told police he killed Rauschelang because she waited too long to tell him about the pregnancy. Just a disturbing case there in northern Indiana.
New fallout tonight on the scandal involving former USA Gymnastics Dr. Larry Nassar. The U.S. Olympic Committee fired its chief of sports performance. An independent investigation revealed Alan Ashley failed to protect athletes in Nassar's sex abuse case. The report says Ashley didn't take action until more than 13 months after learning about the incidents that led to Nassar's prison sentence. As we've reported, Indianapolis-based USA Gymnastics is also facing fallout from the Nassar scandal. Just last week, the organization filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It is also looking for a new CEO and faces decertification as the national governing body of the sport.
An anonymous donation to a local police department will go toward children here in our community. Tonight, why this Hoosier decided to step up in a big way.
Each one has the rank and the officer's name.
Paying tribute to our fallen heroes, the special meaning behind this tree.
And the fog continues to thicken up. Visibilities are going down across all of central Indiana, and it's cold too. A frosty, foggy start to your Tuesday, but I'm tracking a warm front when the temperatures will start to rise coming up.
You was hardly say your tears was fake. That's how I feel about it.
Watch as this silver SUV is caught on camera winding through Indy streets right after a hit and run.
Yo, this dude just killed someone. This dude just killed someone.
I want you off my property.
You didn't kill your wife, did you?
I want you off my property.
Just yes or no, did you kill your wife?
I'm not answering nothing more for you.
What is your message to someone who could shoot into a house where there are multiple kids and then end up killing, as we just talked about, this 1-year-old baby girl?
We're going to take this back 3 or 4 levels, and we're going to address the parents. We're going to talk to them. We're going to ask you parents who thought it was appropriate for your children to behave in such a manner. From my understanding, there are a lot of people inside of the home, many of which were teenagers, so that has to be addressed. But the bottom line of it is this, is that a 1-year-old lost their life this morning, senselessly.
The public safety family of Boone County is heartbroken. We have lost a K-9 officer, a deputy, a friend, a warrior, and a brother. There are no words that can explain the grief that we feel today.
And that is our developing news. First at for a Boone County Sheriff's deputy shot in the line of duty and will not survive. And police now have 3 men in custody.
Yeah, his name, Deputy Jacob Pickett, was shot in the head this morning around 9:30 during a foot chase as officers were trying to serve a warrant in Lebanon. We've been bringing you live coverage of this horrible event all day long, and right now we've got an update on this situation in Lebanon.
Yeah, for that, let's go to Alexis McAdams for the very latest. Alexis.
That's right, Ray. We're learning more about the person who shot and killed that 30-year-old Boone County deputy this morning. That's 21-year-old Anthony Baumgart. Investigators tell us this is still active and ongoing, but this is what we know so far. Let's take a look now at some of the video we shot throughout the day as we've been covering this horrible tragedy unfolding here in Boone County. This all started earlier this morning in Lebanon. 55-year-old John Baldwin Sr., 28-year-old John Baldwin Jr., and 21-year-old Anthony Baumgart are all in police custody tonight. Investigators tell us Baumgart was the one who fired at the deputy, hitting him in the head.
It's gut-wrenching. It rips all our hearts out when this happens. And our thoughts and prayers are obviously with the family and everybody, but we're gonna keep working. We're gonna keep working.
Tia, I know that this is very difficult. You told us you wanted to talk because you know that you have family members watching Fox 59 right now, and those family members, we've been talking to many of them. They just want to hear your voice. So Tia, I want to give you an opportunity to say something to our viewers and to your family who are all here, and we are all praying and supporting you.
Yes, I'm here in the hospital here in Branson. My heart is very heavy. Out of 11 of us, there's only 2 that's surviving. That's me and my nephew. I lost all of my children. I lost my husband. I lost my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. I lost my uncle. I lost my sister-in-law, who was my sister. She was my sister. And I lost my nephew. I'm okay. Yeah. But this is really hard.
We both spoke with
7th grade students who were in that room today, both of them just stunned and still trying to wrap their heads around what happened.
Yeah, I talked to one male student. You could see it in his face just how shocked he was, how hurt he was that this happened inside of his school. He told me he and his classmates actually ran out of their classroom and out here after their teacher managed to tackle the shooter, getting the gun out of his hand. So this morning, that student telling me that they were just in their classroom taking a test when the shooter walked in and allegedly fired 4 to 6 shots.
He's a hero. Like, if he didn't do anything, he probably would have continued shooting, and a lot more of us would have been injured and possibly killed. So it was just something that not most people would have done, but he was very brave to do it.
It has happened again.
I don't understand now. I'm not sure we're ever going to understand why this continues to happen.
A shooting at an Indiana school, this time in Richmond.
They went straight to lockdown, then we heard gunshots.
A 14-year-old boy kills himself during a shootout with police at Dennis Intermediate School.
You could hear them shooting, and I thought it was like somebody banging against the lockers to scare us.
A tip and quick response from police, and no one else was hurt.
Had they not made that call, there is no doubt in my mind that we would be having a much different conversation.
This investigation shifts. Now the focus is figuring out what caused this deadly fire. Now, of those 6 people found dead inside this home, 4 of them were children. The oldest, a 10-year-old girl, and the youngest, just a 1-month-old baby.
Yeah, let's take you there live right now to Peru.
Whether it's an accidental fire or whether it's something more. So we start out criminal, and if it turns into an accidental fire, then so be it.
Terrifying moments caught on camera. A car slams straight into a crowd, throwing some people on the hood and knocking others to the ground.
Oh, it was definitely intentional.
Early Saturday morning, Joe Hardwick was one of the few people who turned into a victim in the parking lot of Be Here Now.
I got hit right in the back, and we got thrown into the wall.
Rage, hurt, pain.
Melody's nephew, Elijah Lacey, died on the scene. The 18-year-old was set to graduate from Warren Central next week. His family says he loved sports and making people laugh.
He would help anybody if it was in his power, and he had a very quick wit and was very humorous.
While the motive for the shooting here at 21st and Post remains unclear, it's not the first time the family has dealt with tragedy. 5 years ago last week, May 2013, stepping outside his home on Sherman to investigate a suspicious noise, Jason Lacey was shot dead. Grainy surveillance video showed the suspects who lured Jason out of his home. Elijah, who at the time was in 7th grade, talked about his father's death.
He was my dad, and I loved him very much. Just remember the good things about him.
While no arrests were ever made in his father's murder, Elijah's family prays the public sees the video of this week's shooting and helps police catch the killer.
His father did not get justice 5 years ago, and we cannot take another loss of this magnitude.
Behind me, you can't really see much aside from a squad car, which is blocking the walking trail that leads back to the scene. But again, from overhead, you can see from our drone a number of squad cars and tents that have been set up as the IMPD and FBI tried to determine exactly why those human remains are here and who they might belong to.
Call us.
Police need a break.
Did you have anything to do with the murders in Indiana?
Like the one they got last fall when Colorado police arrested an Indiana man named Daniel Nations for threatening hikers with a hatchet.
I'm not sure anybody.
Even state police's top boss, Doug Carter, could not believe the resemblance to the sketch of the Delphi killer.
He seemed like the logical person. He looked like him, right? I feel differently about that now based upon what we know about him.
Today, Nations remains a person of interest. After a year and no suspects in sight, I asked Carter, was it time for detectives to release anything else from Libby's phone?
They ask themselves that question every day. That's why we've had a couple peer reviews done up there too. We have released at this point what we think is relevant to finding that individual.
Do you think this guy just walked away?
Likely. Walked a certain distance, yes. Okay. Yeah. We don't have any indication that he was close by where he parked a vehicle because we don't have any information on the vehicle.
What they do have, Carter feels, is enough. He believes someone out there knows right now who this killer is.
What would you want to say to them?
Trust me. Trust us. Please, please, please trust us.
I'd rather have him looking at this wall with me than I looking at his name inscribed on a wall.
Emotional words tonight from the father of fallen Southport Police Lieutenant Aaron Allen. Fox 59 was with Jim Allen today when he visited the memorial for fallen officers in Washington, D.C.
That memorial now includes his son Aaron Allen's name. The Southport lieutenant was killed in the line of duty in July when responding to a car crash.
Our Nick McGill is in Washington, D.C. for National Police Week and has this Fox 59 exclusive with the Allens tonight.
We're still a ways down.
Walking hand in hand, holding each other for strength, Jim and Sherry Allen head towards a landmark they'd hoped they'd never reach.
It's everything I expected. It's humbling as much as it's sad.
There, on the western wall of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, Section 16W, Aaron Allen's section, his name etched in marble above his picture.
It's humbling. It's not what Aaron would have wanted, but it's quite a tribute.
For Aaron's father, there are no words to describe this moment. There's no name to put on the emotions he's now feeling.
I find myself coming up short with the pride I have for my son. I'm very honored to say I'm his father.
Of course, if they had the choice, Jim and Sherry wouldn't be staring down at Aaron's name. Aaron would be here with them. They'd be visiting this memorial together, paying tribute to other fallen heroes. But Jim doesn't have that choice, like many of the people who come here. Now all they can do is put pencil to paper and take comfort in knowing Aaron's name and dedication will never be forgotten.
I stayed up many nights 40 years ago just trying to find out what I wanted to name my first son. And Aaron means strength. I hope he continues to give it back to me.
While Jim Allen says he does take comfort in the fact that his son's name will be immortalized, he says he just hopes that his sacrifice isn't forgotten back home. The Southport Police Department says they'll never let that happen. In our nation's capital, Nick McGill, Fox 59 News.
We saw the blood on the floor and we were all like scared. We didn't know what to do because we were so young and there was just so much going on.
Dejanay Gilbert remembers the night she witnessed a shooting as she was leaving a basketball game at Lawrence Central.
I wasn't expecting all that to happen, so it was like so much going on. There was so many emotions and so many people were hurt.
Her friend's brother was shot that day in 2016. Another student convicted for the crime.
We're so young, like, what do you need a gun for?
As our Fox 59 investigation found, there were 56 reported incidents of students bringing guns to school last year, 28 of those in Marion County. Each year, school districts are required to send the State Department of Education details about their gun incidents and the consequences students faced.
We want to know that they're safe in their environment, that they're protected, and we want to know that the leaders over those children, all our children, are, making the right decisions.
Step one starts in your home or business.
You're completely open.
Jonathan takes us through an assessment of this home, identifying the vulnerabilities, how a bad guy could get in.
The alarm system's good. Deadbolt's always a good idea to have, but the weakest point about it is that it's solid glass.
He says predators often get in through an open or unlocked garage door, even basement windows. Step two, developing plans of action in your home.
Looking at the access points, looking at the angles that you can best defend, what you should do in case an intrusion occurs, where to go, what to say, and how to respond.
Learning how to respond includes identifying a safe room in your house and developing code words for your family and especially your children to identify in any emergency situation, whether home or away.
Please, 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 something that a bad guy wouldn't recognize as a code word, but something my daughter would mentally recognize as a code word. Please, please, please. Upon that third please, 1, 2, 3, you're dropping immediately, getting out of my way and putting your hands over your head.
Code words can be life-saving, and identifying your safe room is critical because this is where you stage your defense and protect your family if you can't get out. In a world where videos like this go viral,
oh my God, drop it!
and more officers are shot in the line of duty, it's no surprise police departments across the country are struggling to find anyone who wants to wear the badge. And if that isn't enough, now this. A Seattle skyline plastered on a billboard in Indianapolis. Seattle police ready to swoop in and steal our officers.
Not everyone can do this work. I've said this multiple times. Every month, I sign off on people who just don't make it through.
Seattle police tells us they'll be conducting lateral testing in Indianapolis all this week. That means they want to hire officers who are already on the job. So I wanted to find out what we're doing to stop the poaching. Listen to my conversation with IMPD Chief Brian Roach 5 weeks before Seattle's visit.
What are you actively doing those same days?
You know, it's not going to be a war, right?
Why not? You're not going to be in the booth right next to them?
So we'll have to talk about that.
The sweetest soul you could ever meet. I took him everywhere. He was attached to my hip everywhere we went, even at home.
Brayson Price was just 5 years old when he died.
He was my life, and he will always continue to be my life.
I mean, you can see all the bruising.
Police say Brayson was abused for years. His death was ruled a homicide. The cause, intentional overdose and suffocation. His mom and her boyfriend are now serving time, found guilty in connection to Brayson's death.
39 years is a long time, but how much is a child's life worth?
I'm gonna put a blue cookie.
Lily Bishop is a typical 8-year-old.
Where's the O? Found it. Oh, it's a Q.
Coloring, playing,
Where's the starting point?
and learning about the world. But behind that innocence you see on her face, there's a lot of pain. Lily is growing up without her dad.
He had a big heart. He really did. He was an amazing father.
Daniel Bishop's story is one we've heard all too often. A young man who sought relief from pain and quickly became addicted to prescription pills. When Daniel overdosed, he left Lily behind. One of Indiana's many kids left behind by the drug epidemic.
I should have gone when the doctor told me to go, but I didn't.
Riggs, look here.
I waited.
Come on. 42 with 7 children. Life for Katie and husband Todd, like most families, is busy.
Lots of soccer, lots of driving around, lots of homework, lots of breaking up fights.
So when it came time for Katie's first mammogram,
I just put it off, put it off, put it off, put it in my reminders on my phone. I'll get to it, I'll get to it.
and when she finally did get to the mammogram, the doctor wanted to see her again. But again, she put it off, this time for 3 months. At that second visit, the doctor immediately ordered a sonogram, and that got Katie's attention.
I just thought, I don't think they do this for everybody.
And she was right. The sonogram showed a mass. Her doctor scheduled a biopsy the very next day. The diagnosis? Breast cancer, and a very aggressive form. And that is when the shock set in.
Immediately, as a mother of 7, you just fear your 7 children being left with your husband.
Could this Indiana casino soon be a much busier place?
I think it's a win-win for everyone.
And at Hoosier Park in Anderson, they're hoping to win big.
Sports wagering would just be another wonderful amenity to have for the casino properties.
After the casino industry won a victory in the courts, now they're hoping to parlay that win into another victory at the State House.
What this does is it allows us as a state to offer sports wagering where before we weren't allowed to.
You can bet $5, $10, $20.
Jason Logan is with Covers.com, an informational website owned by Tribune Media, focusing on the ins and outs of sports wagering.
It's another level of fandom, much like fantasy sports. You know, you may be a Colts fan and you watch every Colts game religiously, but on your fantasy team you have Antonio Brown, and so you have a little more interest in what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing that week, regardless of who they're playing. And that's basically what sports betting does too. It opens up that opportunity to boost engagement, to boost audience, which is fantastic for the league.
But could it really happen here?
Not to be too cute here, but what are the odds this actually happens here in Indiana?
So I'm hopeful. I think that there are a number of signs that demonstrate that Indiana might well have an appetite for sports wagering.
Can my DNA wind up in the wrong hands? The simple answer, yes. Although both companies say they have safeguards in place to prevent a hack, they can't rule out the possibility it could happen.
Maybe there's a surprise or two in there.
Brooke eventually found out she's from Western Europe. And for so many like her, the idea of knowing about the past means more right now than what could happen in the future.
I don't have a lot of concerns because as long as they don't have any kind of malicious intent with it, I feel like that's okay.
Attendees told us the NRA's Dallas convention was a success.
Quickest way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
From the back-to-back appearances of Mike Pence and Donald Trump before a packed house, to the crowded exhibit floor that was like Christmas morning for anyone who loves guns. On the streets outside the Dallas Convention Center, anti-violence protesters were no match for the armed NRA supporters loaded with Second Amendment expertise.
Not if the Constitution holds still, I promise you that.
We're all normal people. I mean, we're not highfalutin, we're not crazy gun people running around wanting to shoot people. We're just normal people.
Take a look right now. We have video from one Indiana town. Look at this sinkhole. Looks more like a pool or a pond, but this is the middle of the street, and look at that. The street literally still crumbling while cameras are rolling. Swallows that entire part of the road. You see the cars there? They can't go anywhere. This is in Union County, far east. As you can see, the road pretty much gone. Luckily, no one was hurt, Dan.
We do have FOX59 crews out live tonight to bring you the very latest on the weather and the flooding we're seeing. But let's start with our Weather Authority team. Brian Wilkes and John DeSauer are here with the forecast. Hey, guys, how are we looking now?
Incredible day, Dan and Fanchon. It's already been remarkable. A record setter, John, with over 3 inches of rain that had fallen. And when you take the rain that fell this morning on top of what has fallen over the last 2 weeks, it's no surprise that we see so much standing water.
The ground is absolutely saturated. Nowhere for the water to go until it works itself downstream. We've got more coming tonight.
That's right. A little bit of a lull in the activity. Live guarding radar, thankfully, is quiet right now. But we will add to those rainfall totals soon. In fact, we're watching a spike in activity that's now forming out in parts of eastern Illinois.
In the White River here behind me, you can see that the water level is very high. Typically, the water only goes to that second pillar you see there in the distance. We visited another neighborhood where water is already inside people's homes. Simply getting to Niles Duncan's home today proved to be a challenge.
I'm losing the value of my house, and it keeps destroying my house.
Water from the creek behind his house rising quickly because of the heavy rain.
Trees ripped right out of the ground, power lines down on houses, and check out this massive tree down right in the middle of the road here in Lafayette. Behind me, crews have to come out here now and chop this tree down, try to clear the traffic. They did put out these blockers here to try to stop people from getting through, but people are trying to get home tonight, and all they are passing by are down trees, down limbs, and power lines. It's a pretty dangerous scene out here.
How old was everyone when they got their first perm? I was 8.
Oh, I was much older. My mom would not. So I was at least 15.
I would say probably about 8 or 9. And so what was that moment like of everybody discovering what their natural hair was? It's this crazy thing. Yeah. You don't know what's really a part of your identity. I was like, it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
It was amazing to me that I had hair that would curl up.
So what was that defining moment where you said, I'm going to embrace it? As a professional woman, I'm walking in, rocking these curls. Most people don't look like you in the workplace.
Once I was on my job site for at least a week, and people were coming up to me, first of all, wanting to touch my hair. Second of all, but then once I started getting more and more compliments, I think I started to embrace it more.
My mom has always been interested in genealogy.
I thought it'd be interesting.
I wasn't quite sure exactly how Irish I was.
What am I? What is my sister?
Where in the world do you come from? More and more people every day are taking a DNA test to find out. But just how accurate are they? We put them to the test. We asked 4 Fox 59 employees who previously took a DNA test to do it again. So they spit, shipped, and we waited for the results to come in. First up, Fox 59 meteorologist Jim O'Brien.
All right.
Jim's new ancestry result came back pretty close to the original.
That made me feel a little bit, better knowing after taking it twice that I'm definitely Irish.
Next, we tested Neil Moore.
It doesn't really surprise me.
His second ancestry results confirmed the first. He is English, although this time he was even more British.
Being an Anglophile, I'm a little more British, so that's cool.
Oh, what is this?
No, that's strange.
This is what kind of threw me off a little bit.
Very weird.
The others, though, came back with some questions.
Didn't know that.
Brandy Ostojic's father is from Austria, but her original 23andMe results don't show any Austrian. Her new results do.
Yeah, it was just kind of strange to see that it was different.
Over the years, I've developed a reputation for sneaking up on folks in the newsroom. I call it the Fox 59 scare tactic. What are you doing? What are you talking about? Morning, Charlene. So when it came time to pick a hired or fired job around Halloween, this position seemed like a natural. It's time for this amateur to go pro at Nightmare on Edgewood on Indy's South Side.
Welcome to Nightmare on Edgewood. Ready to scare the pants off somebody?
I think I'm ready to do this. Kevin and I agree that I need something with a little more fright appeal. So with a quick change, enter The Undertaker.
Sometimes the most haunted places are the most isolated, and it doesn't get more isolated than the farmland of the Midwest. Let's go take a look at Thornhaven Manor.
Ghost hunters galore with claims of sightings, scratches, and the simply terrifying.
Are they right here? There are 3 now. Right here? They're all around you. There's one on top of you, and there's one on each side.
Why is it flickering? Are you doing that?
No.
You're not. Yes, you are. DJ.
I don't think so.
Are you doing it? Are you flickering it or not?
No, I'm not touching it.
Breaking right now, Indiana will have a new U.S. Senator, Republican Mike Braun, beating incumbent Democrat Joe Donnelly tonight.
Braun is about to speak live. Let's head out to the JW Marriott downtown to listen in.
We've got team coverage tonight across central Indiana, waiting for those final results with reactions from both parties, from the candidates and from voters on this election night. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Spieler.
And I'm Fanchen Stinger. Thanks for joining us on this election evening. It is a busy night already, and we're going to be with you until the very end.
We get in, we get out today if we get after.
Scars of today become the stories of tomorrow.
Hey, we're moving our feet.
Each mark a journal entry etched in skin.
Time!
Completely inescapable.
We preach that all the time, that wrestling prepares you for life.
Javon Ross is a 3-time All-American wrestler at Warren Central High School.
Ross can beat anybody.
Undefeated in middle school. State ranked as a freshman for head coach Jim Tante.
He's one move away from putting everybody away.
And one move from being lost forever. That moment permanently embedded just inches from his mind.
The first thought was, man, the man upstairs has a plan for him.
Second guy, second time! By May of this year, no one was sleeping on Ross.
Everybody fears him.
His eyes firmly set on winning the Disney Duels tournament in Florida.
It's in Win magazine. It gets a lot of publicity in a lot of pubs.
Some of the best high schoolers in the country, turning Disney's wide world of sports into their personal showcase. Ross had been twice. He was just a month away, dreaming of it.
I was in my bed, just laying down, and I heard some car screeching.
As they were going down the street, they were shooting
at the car behind them.
The bullet goes flying through my window.
The glass broke, he kind of looked, and that's where it hit him. If it doesn't, it hits him right here.
If I didn't turn around, the time would be probably in the back of my skull.
The errant shot wresting a hair from his brain, with his future
inches
from being lost.
It kind of looked like almost like a cigarette burn. I mean, it was bleeding and it was raw.
We only lived like 5-6 minutes away from the ambulance, so we drove there.
The family thinking the wound came from the shattered window.
There was a time when they had the IVs in both of his arms and they were burning, and you know, Javon doesn't cry and he doesn't, you know, tell you he's hurting. And to see the tears, you know, streaming down the side of his face, you know, and he was in pain.
He laid in the hospital bed for 12 hours, the bullet still inside.
It's a lot like him on the mat. There's nobody who can help you right now but you.
Doctors choosing to remove the bullet the next day.
The first day I was in the hospital, I was thinking about when I was gonna get back.
No freebies here.
That burning in his veins, pain in his forehead.
It hurt to smile, it hurt to talk.
Somehow invigorating him just weeks after his brush with death.
I was jogging, I was running, I was getting up in the morning. My coaches found like a mask, headgear with a mask on it. So without my parents knowing, I just got into a little wrestling.
And with just 2 days before Disney duels, 23 days from being shot, he was cleared to compete.
If you'd have asked me on May 30th, I'd have told you there's just no way in heck this is gonna happen.
I'm sitting on the edge of my seat.
Ross, somehow walking to the mat in Florida.
Basically, just wondering exactly if we're doing the right thing.
His mask on, forehead still swollen.
When you're wearing it, pretty hard to breathe.
In the very first match, we're 3/4 way through the match, and he rips the mask off and throws it over towards me.
Even though he's been cleared, I'm like, what if?
He not only won,
oh yeah,
he kept winning.
More than one of them.
Eventually seeing Ross encounter one of the toughest competitors in his weight class.
I was getting nervous, you know, I'm like, man, this is not going good.
His opponent desperately trying to pin him.
I was losing pretty bad.
Down 13-3, 1 second to go.
Out of anger, he just grabs the mouth open and just tries to rip it off backwards.
The plastic pressing to his forehead as his body flops to the mat. Referees calling for disqualification.
I wasn't gonna let the pain bother me in the match, because I just had to go.
I was concerned where he was at emotionally. He bounced back, and bounced back well.
After 3 weeks without training, without preparation, he left Florida nearly flawless.
I think I went 7-1, 8-1, lost one match.
His medal now left on his dresser as a daily reminder, with his scar a constant flashback.
Step into extra. I couldn't hear you. Step into extra.
Forever symbolizing the story he lives to tell.
He lives a couple thousand miles away from the Circle City.
Let's find out.
I came across this photo that looked like luck in a Civil War era, and I just thought that it was hilarious.
That photo inspired what's now one of the most popular Twitter accounts on the NFL.
Dearest Mother, I believe I have been blessed with more coins than stars in the sky. I shall buy you a new cabin in which to rest. Andrew.
That first tweet in June 2016 got 8 retweets and 57 likes, a humble start that exploded.
Unimpassioned voice, he said to the men, "Do not hurry, men, and fire too fast."
I'm a huge history buff, and I loved Ken Burns' series on the Civil War.
Add Andrew Luck, and a star was born.
Obviously, instead of talking about war, he's talking about football.
He keeps the post positive through losses or struggles, like last season when Luck was out.
I knew that he would be back, and I knew that he would be great on the field, so there was no reason to stop doing it.
When Luck's mustache made news, the captain wrote to his dearest mother.
And because it has more than earned it, my neckbeard has taken some of its accrued annual leave. The days continue to brighten. Eating like the Colts isn't just about what you eat, but how much. A position like wide receiver, they might eat about 2,000 calories a day, whereas a lineman, they might eat close to 3,000.
We have to order it by the pallet full, so we got in about $3,000 worth of breakfast sausage this morning.
Now, if you think a pallet full sounds like a lot,
that might last us a month.
The rivalry runs deep behind current and future Hall of Famers, Manning, Brady, Dungy, and Belichick. Now, it's time for a new chapter.
Our goal every week is 1-0, and it just so happens that it's the New England Patriots.
There is no love lost from crushing playoff defeats to the Deflategate saga.
Hate's a strong word, but you hear fans share their disfavor with the Patriots.
To a coach who spurned the horseshoe. It's the Colts and Patriots, right here on Fox.
The rivalry is back on.
You are looking at Gillette Stadium, home of the two-time defending AFC champion New England Patriots, a house of horrors for the Colts, who've won there just twice in the last 10 meetings. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Colts Blue Zone, live from Georgia Street, along with Dave Griffiths. I'm Chris Widlick. Dave, it's just another edition of Colts Patriots in prime time, isn't it?
Well, Colts GM Chris Ballard may have declared the rivalry to be back on. These fans here on Georgia Street don't think it is, but New Englanders will remind you, they've won 7 in a row in this rivalry. Amen.
Seeing Emery's immediate impact, Coach Leonard wasted no time in a promotion.
Play where? Come on, we're call here.
I said, Emery, you're not really a coach. And he kind of looked at me kind of funny, like, what are you talking about? I said, you're the GM.
Up and up, cross crunch, hit.
The first day of the more than week-long evaluation process of selecting the squad begins with an open audition in which the women learn a brand new routine that morning, then turn around a short time later and are judged in groups of 3 in front of a judging panel that includes former NFL cheerleaders, Colts staff, and even the players themselves.
Well, we all know it's just not about ourselves that's out there on Sundays. So, we know a lot goes into their job as well as ours. We just try to encourage them just as much as they encourage us. So we're honored to be here and to give back to them.
Cheers everybody.
Good, thank
you. Cheers, guys.
Milk.
Winners drink milk.
Hey, let me see this chug, chug, chug. Oh. Oh. To a safe and wonderful 102nd running of the Indy 500. Thank you.
I want to make it clear that my actions on that day, in my mind, were the only acceptable actions I could have done given the circumstances.
That's one of the things, talking to the kids, I don't know if some of them realize that if he didn't do what he did, that things could have been much worse.
Student Madeline Hancock realizes she was in another classroom that day, but had Mr. Seaman for science last year. As a student, she wondered, how could she even begin to say thank you to her teacher?
I nominated you for Community Hero because there was no better way of saying thank you. If you had not done what you did on that day, some of us might not be here to thank you. So we are here to thank you, Mr. Seaman. You are truly this community's hero.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, it's FOX59.
Oh my God, it's really true.
We're here.
For Sonia Brown, it is still hard to wrap her head around. All of her medical debt is gone.
$15,913.90.
She's the latest Hoosier to get this letter in the mail telling her that FOX59 just paid off her medical bills.
I said, oh my God, God is good. And I started crying, of course.
It's emotional because her plight began nearly 10 years ago when Sonia says she got sick and went to the hospital.
I couldn't drink nothing, I couldn't eat nothing. Everything came up.
Sonia says she had gastroparesis, a stomach condition that can cause serious nausea and vomiting. She's doing a whole lot better today, but all that hospital testing ran up a pretty big bill.
I couldn't do nothing about it.
And she's not alone. Nearly 1 in every 4 Hoosiers in central Indiana has medical debt that's gone into collections.
Here in New York.
That's why FOX59 stepped in to help. We teamed up with RIP Medical Debt, a nonprofit that takes donations and buys up debt in the secondary debt market for pennies on the dollar. We donated $15,000, which turned into nearly $1.5 million in medical debt paid off. And that includes all of Sonia's medical debt.
Here it is, y'all. It's true.
Now she's got big plans.
I might can purchase me a house one day. instead of renting all the time.
And she wants to pay it forward.
If I can put $10 or $20 into the program, you can too. FOX59 stepped in, picked up a bill that I would have never thought about trying to pay back because I couldn't. Who does that? FOX59. Believe it.
Anyone can jump in on helping us pay off medical debt. We donated $15,000, but even a small amount goes a long way. A simple $10 donation wipes out $1,000 of medical debt. All you have to do is go to fox59.com/medical debt for information on how you can donate. And again, if you get a white envelope in the mail that looks just like this, be sure to read the letter on how you can contact us. We want to share your story next.